good time. Remember some little children. I when they sing it and they dance, just really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. Remember some little children. And when they sing it and they dance, just really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In a bag. Seafood mama. Get 10 fat chicken. And ask you for one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance, that's really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry you.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Over to You on this day, the first day of June 2024. Welcome to you all. Good evening, Guyana. Good evening to the Caribbean. Good evening to the continent of South Africa. Good evening to all those in North America and in the UK. Welcome to the program. I do have the presence of an honorable guest with me this evening. So I know that you guys are very, very excited about that. So I have no other than the Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. David Patterson, Shadow Minister of Infrastructure. Mr. Patterson, welcome to the program. And how are you?
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I want to say thank you for all your viewers, wherever you are, for joining. It's an absolute pleasure being here, and I hope everyone is safe. Right now we're in Guyana, but it's raining, but it's quite lovely as usual.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patterson. And listen, I must say thank you for being so gracious and accepting the short notice that I would have given you to come on to the program to speak to the people and to address issues. Thank you so much.
No, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. It's always a pleasure to share here with yourself and Mark and anybody else, and answer a few questions that have been burning questions people would like to know. So it is my pleasure, my honor.
Okay, Mr. Patterson, if you don't mind, for my viewers here, can you just give a short reintroduction of yourself to the people, about your portfolio and a little about yourself?
So folks, good night. David Patterson is the name. I'm a member of the Alliance for Change Party. I was one of the first members since 2005 when the party became established. And then we contested the 2006 elections. The party won 5 seats, and I was one of the first MPs in 2006 to 2006. So I was there from 2007 to 2011. took a slight break. But you know, I mean, it's in your blood. So after that, I was back in 2015, integral part of 2015 elections. I was the Minister for Public Infrastructure, which is now Public Works, and I'm now back in Parliament. I was the person that I was the chief negotiator on behalf of my party for the Cummingsburg Accord, which is the accord that brought the historic coalition between APNU and AFC, which heralded our election victory and tenure in 2015. So I'm still a member of the Alliance for Change, still a member of the coalition, still a member of the joint parliamentary opposition, and looking forward to displacing and removing the PPP come next election in 2025. That's where my energy is focused. Like everyone in the opposition, you know, I mean, we are all laser focused on that. You may hear, just like I will tell you, of just bantering just now with your co-host Mark. You may hear a lot of things about the coalition, about our internal dealings, and about our internal party politics and those things like that. But, ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing I can tell you, that both sides, the entire coalition, as to a man, to a woman, to a dog, to a cat, are all laser focused on is the removal of the PPP. So these minor distractions and those things like that we would have, I mean, now, they're just like preamble to the bigger fight. We're just getting into war mode, you know what I mean? So therefore, I mean, like, you know, when Mike Tyson used to fight, you'd have people would go and see him warming up. So all of these little things you see now is us warming ourselves up for the big fight coming next year.
Thank you so much. Eloquently put, Mr. Patterson. And indeed, it is a big fight. This is not no pit for pat. It's a real fight. It's a real fight. Mr. Patterson, you have announced your candidacy for a leader of the AFC. Can you elaborate a bit on that, and why now?
Well, you mean, to be honest, my second attempt at running for leader. I mean, as I said, I was one of the founder members. The three founder members was Raphael, Kemraj, and Sheila Holder, late Sheila Holder. I did contest against Kemraj, who was the founder leader. I mean, obviously, it's quite difficult, almost impossible to beat a leader. So he won by, I think, by 30 votes. So it's just a continuation of what I would have started. And the reason that I am contesting is that I do think that the time is right. New energy, that not a new direction, just new energy in what we're going to do. You know what I mean? I do feel that there is need for a coalition. I do feel that there is a place in it for the Alliance for Change. My tenure, though, I think that it has to be strengthened in the sense that if you're going to have a coalition government, or if you can continue as it is, we have to be business-like, and that's one of the reasons that I'm running. Whatever we do as a party, we have to treat it as though it's a business. Checks and balances, the informalities and those things like that, because we're going up against, and we have to admit it, one of the most well-oiled political organizations in the Caribbean. That's the PPP, and the only way, just like in 2015, that we can defeat them is if we are as well-oiled as they are, or better than they are. So that's why I'm putting myself forward once again for the leader of the party, to ensure that we, the Alliance for Change, at least that component of the coalition, is well-oiled and efficient and running, ready and able to displace the PPP. I mean, every component of a coalition will have to pull its weight. So I'm now trying to whip my party, as I said, into full fighting shape. So, and I do think that I have the energy and the vision and the support to have that done. Our elections are on June the 29th, almost the same weekend as the PNC. But I do think that the support is there right now.
Okay, so Mr. Patterson is confident that he is going to be the victor come June 29th at the AFC elections. Well said, Mr. Patterson. Thank you for that. To the extent that you are the victor on June 29th, what is your overall vision for the people of Guyana and Guyana from a holistic perspective going forward? Because I know in the AFC is maybe the most balanced of the three parties in the coalition from an ethnic perspective. What is your take? What's your vision?
Well, look, the AFC, our philosophy is liberal democracy, which means that we feel that everyone within the party, irrespective of what it is, have a say, and that's what we want to translate to the country to get us better. Well, I mean, I would like to re-energize because not only the party but the country. I mean, the last 3 or 4 years, anybody that presented a dissenting voice against the PPP has been shut down, has been charged. I would like to use our AFC's platform to reopen that liberal democracy dialogue that we have. Our private sector has been muted, and they're looking for voice, even though a lot of people say that they're in bed with the PPP. Not all of them are. Some of them are not. The youths are looking for voice, and we do feel it out. And there are a lot of burning questions and burning issues outside of the corruption and discrimination that needs to be ventilated. And I do think that the Alliance for Change it would be one of the best parties, so well placed because of our background, to ventilate these burning issues that has to be spoken about. This constitutional reform. We have always wanted constitutional reform. As a third party, somebody has to speak about that. There are questions about the contract, the oil contract, the distribution of wealth, and those things like that. I think that I will be able to position the Alliance for Change in such a way that they can bring out these issues. We have to address local governance as well. Local government, because the way our local government system is being run now, it's almost as equivalent to the parliament, whereby the political parties, take part and dominate, and then the winner, if the winner is an opposition party, that in that local government is starved. This was happening in Linden, in Georgetown, and those things like that. I do think that I would like to move the conversation and move this country forward. We're 58 years this year, as an independent country. And it's about time we start making the bold step. So, in other words, I would like our party to be the voice to say what has to be said without fear and recrimination.
Well said. Thank you for that. And Mr. Patterson, you opened the door for this question. What's your take on what would have happened to our brother, Mr. Kedaki Amsterdam, this week, whereby the PPPC would have sent the Guyana police force to his home without a warrant to arrest him and detain him? What is your
on that? Absolutely appalling, and I started singing about this era of fear that they've brought into this country, the era of persecution of anybody that is opposed to them. What they did to Mr. Kadaki is absolutely abysmal. They came to his home, arrested him, placed him in handcuffs. He was detained overnight, kept there for 2 nights. That's absolutely abysmal. Compare this to what happened to Nigel Darnell. Two rape allegations against him, and he got station bail. Didn't spend an hour in the station other than the time it took to question him. You can also equate it to what happened to Gunse. Exact same thing. Malcolm Harry Paul, these are all individuals who have spoken up. And we can tell you so many persons. Sherrod, Ubraj, and at Ferguson, you can all once you have say something, they are trying to use the system to try and mute us. So what has happened to Mr. Abzam is absolutely appalling, you mean, and it's a violation of all the principles of free speech that we have in this country. I mean, I am surprised that no one else, in the, say, the diplomatic community and those things like that have not said a word about it. Granted, I haven't heard what the offending words that he would have said. I haven't heard that, but obviously he should have the right to defend himself rather than be persecuted. Obviously, as you know, as a talk show host, you have responsibilities of what you say and what you don't say. And Kadaki is a very smart and astute youngster. So I would have to say that he would know what and what not to say. So therefore, and he's been doing it for quite some time. So I think it's an overreach by the by the government. They're just using the state power and the police force to mute their opposition. But it will not work. It will not work. It's coming to the stage where everyone is seeing through what they're doing. Everyone is seeing that what they're doing isn't what they're doing to their opposition, what they're doing to the opposition isn't working. The persecution of the opposition, and it's waking up the eyes of people. So, if there's any good thing, that's a big if that comes out of this. All the people who said, "Oh, we're not interested in politics. We're sitting on the sideline. We're not interested. We're not going to be voting." They have, by the actions of the PPP, they have now become re-engaged and refocused. Because if it's Kadaki today, who will be tomorrow? So So we all all we have to do is maintain that we are brothers keepers and continue looking after each other.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Patterson. Just for some clarity, Kidaki actually did not say anything that violated the
Right, yes.
Cybercrime Act.
Right.
It was a caller that called in.
Yes.
And right away,
correct.
Kidaki put a disclaimer in place, saying that he did not agree with what the caller had to say, and he does not condone that type of behavior.
Actions.
But it
and that is
shows you, Mr. Patterson, that the PPPC, that operation was completely outside the ambit of the law. They were just after Mr. Amsterdam.
Yes, and, any excuse.
Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
So they're looking for any excuse to do these things. And it's unfortunate. Their idea is, and hear me, and let me make a prediction. Just like our brother Ogun said, that case hasn't come up again. I don't think it's even come up again. The idea is to charge you and try to belittle you and try to scare you, try to ensure that Mr. Kadaki is scared to go back on his show and those things like that, and try to mute you. So try to so no one is there locally that can expose what they're doing. They've gone they went after Melly Mel, Rickford, Mark, the whole book. But they have a man named Critical here who sits down and call black people hungry bellies, and tell women about their private parts and how black people can't read and very horrible, distasteful, disgusting things, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is done to him. They have the Dharam Lal that gets on his Facebook page and make very derogatory things about our women folks. Very, very distasteful things. You hear absolutely nothing about it. There's a post in Ghana News Media or Ghana thing that fabricates lies every day on every single opposition person or any single person that even speaks. They attack the Kaichor News, the Stabrook News reporters personally, and absolutely nothing is done. They're simply trying to force us to be silent, but they cannot silence us.
Well said, Mr. Patterson. And listen, they're even attacking the media.
Yes.
They're even attacking the media, which puts into question is Guyana still an operating democracy? It really
Exactly.
does.
Exactly. You know, I mean, look, so, Congressman Jackson came here last week or early on this week, and he had interesting engagements. He had a really heartfelt engagement in Mocha, where a person allowed to express itself. The next day, they carried him into Our Boys Tongue, which is almost like a dog and pony show with all sorts of, Chase Green, who was there, all sort of former things, and trying to butter it up. But I'm sure that Congressman witnessed firsthand the behavior of Kwame McCoy trying to silence the poor people in Mocha from expressing themselves. I'm sure that when he went back to his hotel room, he said, "Wow, imagine a time in a country where a government minister leaves his job, comes to a community with people who have grievances and try to stop them speaking. What type of country is this?" So the more they try to stifle our speeches, the more it gets out and the more transparent it is.
Well said, Mr. Patterson. I want to ask you this question. Have you had an opportunity to see this TikTok video that was put out by a young Indo-Guyanese by the name of Imran, where he was calling for all Afro-Guyanese, all the people of the Afro-Guyanese race to be poisoned, to be shot? Have you had the opportunity to see that video?
Yes, I would have seen it. I would have. I didn't see him didn't see any charges against him. I could be wrong, but I for sure didn't see him in handcuffs on the front page of our news. I know that he tried. Somebody said he tried apologizing, but those are the things that are happening in this country that they're allowing to happen. We as in our 58 years of independence, I find we are our starkest when it comes to race relations. We are back in the 1960s before independence, whereby you automatically look at somebody where you previously used to look at them to say, "Oh, he's a good person." Instinctively or not, you start looking at their race, and they brought us back down to this position. Although there's no, and they would like to say that it's all doing with them. For the first day they got in, 2,000 in excess of 2,000 Afro-Guyanese were fired for no reason at all, other than the presumption that they supported the opposition while we were in government. Or that's the only reason for firing them. There's a presumption that they supported us. They didn't do any performance appraisal. They didn't do anything to see if they're good workers, bad workers, delinquent, whatever it is. Fire them all. Unlike us, we did that. We didn't fire anybody. We sat down and said, "Well, you're a good worker. We checked your work. If you didn't work good, you can't work here. If you're an excellent worker, you continue under our rules," and those things like that. So from the first time they came in, the first month they came in, fired all these people. On top of that, and then of course they go around saying, "Bring me the proof." But how they fired these people is done in such a disgraceful manner. People didn't want their names to be called because they have to go and get job interviews elsewhere, right? Fabricate lies on these people. "Oh, you fire him because he's this, he's that," and those things like that. But what we have to do, so that they started that, they continue doing that. Continue doing that. They came around. They started empowering their people. They started giving a lot of Indo-Guyanese contracts. And when I asked, they said, "Oh, there's no Afro-Guyanese who have contracts." When challenged, you know what they did? They went around the Afro-Guyanese contractors and said, "Listen to me. If you say anything, you'd never get to work with this government." Fair. That's all they do.
That's quite interesting to know that government that is supposed to be supporting the people, empowering the people, is going around instilling fear in the people. And keeping in mind, Mr. Patterson, that it was part of the PPPC manifesto at the 2020 election to create 50,000 new jobs in Guyana. And right away they got in, they took away 2,000 plus. So you can see the backward movement by this install regime.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, we lost the honorable David Patterson there for a moment. We are hoping that he can rejoin. But going back to the PPPC, and yes, I do see a question here by, I think it's Mr. Dennis Atwell, who is saying that that cybercrime act needs to be amended. And to the extent Mr. Patterson is able to come back on the show, I will ask that question. It really needs to be addressed because people are being attacked for the wrong reason. The Cybercrime Act is not being used correctly. What the PPPC would have done to Brother Kidaki Amsterdam would have been outside the ambit of the law. There was no warrant for his arrest. There was nothing. They came onto his property illegally. And one of the things that really offended me in the whole situation with Brother Kidaki is that he was slapped in the back of the head. And I'm not going to say allegedly, he was slapped. The brother is not going to come on the program and lie. He was slapped in the back of the head by an officer of the Guyana Police Force. And that is disrespectful. Mr. Patterson?
Yeah, sorry. I think I lost you for a second.
Yes, that's okay. Thank you for actually coming on back. Mr. Patterson, being the Shadow Minister of Infrastructure, what is your take on the flooding in Linden and also the horrible road that's being built by the PPPC?
No, listen to me. And a leopard cannot change his spots. You know what I mean? And I think that is a problem that we have, you know, that we keep thinking that the PVP is a government that cares. And we keep thinking and we keep being surprised by what they do, you know what I mean, or what they do not do. First and foremost, they never ever like any of the towns, not even the ones that they control. I mean, Georgetown is a garbage city. Linden and Georgetown have been treated abysmally all the years, the 23 years before they were when they were there, and the 4 years since they've returned. So I'm surprised that people seem surprised of what's going on in Linden, right? These people here have no love for Linden, no love for Georgetown, no love for New Amsterdam. Why you mean so? They have they spent $77 million, probably even more, putting on a show in Linden, the independent show. They didn't invite anybody. They didn't invite the Lindeners. They didn't invite the community. Cleaned up only the roads where their people got to drive on. The president is coming and he's going to be driving along the highway. You can turn left into this street. So they cleaned those up. They didn't worry anything about the rest of the thing. Then we had one of the longest dry periods in this country. I mean, with rain didn't start. Rain only started this month. From January to May, even from December, they did absolutely nothing. The city council been begging them, we need money, because all our city councils, I mentioned it first, all our local authorities are money starved. The Linden authorities have been saying we need help. But because Linden is a opposition-controlled municipality, they just never listen to them. I don't know why we're surprised. I mean, Georgetown is just the same. Georgetown is a garbage city. It's raining, it's flooding. Why are we surprised by the PPP's action? They are doing what they've done to us every single year since they have power. Nothing new, and it will continue. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't be surprised at all that they've neglected Linden or Georgetown or those things like that. Don't be surprised at how they're giving you slapdash roads and those things like that. That is the PPP. And what they do, unfortunately, my brother, they're gonna get they go and get two black brothers, hungry brothers, you know what I mean? Give them get them a contract or get them a job, and then stick them in the face of the public to say, oh, the PPP has changed. They have not changed. The only thing that has changed is the black brothers and sisters they're paying. That's the only difference. They had Sam Hines. Now they got Mark Phillips. That's the only change. And Sam Hines will come and say, oh, the PPP love you, so forth, so forth. You know what happened. Now they got Mark Phillips. That's the only all the change the black brother and sister they put in front of us and tell them how they like Afro-Guyanese and they like indigenous people. Only changes the faces that they come and tell you with. Their modus operandi and their policies are exactly the same. So don't be fooled. They don't like you folks. Don't invite them into your home. Don't, because the first thing they're gonna do, they come into your home, they're gonna say, oh God, how you get this, how you get that. You mean if they want to give you a contract, take it, everybody gotta leave, but don't carry them to your home. Talk to them on the streets.
Well said, Mr. Patterson. So basically, in a nutshell, don't take them to your home because you are all supposed to be poor and begging them for something.
Exactly. Exactly.
In a nutshell, when the PPPC comes to your communities, they want people to come and kneel to Irfan Ali, and that is not going to happen. That's why we're going to formulate a strong coalition for 2025, and the coalition is going to be the victors in 2025. Mr. Patterson, the Commonwealth Accord, I know that you have a good standing relationship with Mr. Norton, and I am sure the Honorable David Patterson also. I mean, the Honorable David Hines also. So what do you foresee when it comes to the Commonwealth Accord? And I'm saying this with you being the victor at this year's AFC election.
What is needed is as I started off, a more structured approach. You know what I mean? Like I say, we got to do it business like. We got to do it. We have to sit down and have strong policy decisions, you know what I mean? Because the strategic decisions, we have to sit down and do critical planning. That's what I would like to see out of a strong government. We have to say, listen to me, because we can't be territorial. We can't say that that AFC shouldn't say nothing in Linden and APNU shouldn't say anything in Burmese and those things. We have to sit down. If you're having a great agreement, and take the map of Guyana, and everyone sits at the table and says, look, listen to me. Where is it you want to go? Where is it you think you can make a difference? And then let us agree on that and let us go out and do it. We have to respect each other, because I think too often we don't respect each other as opposition persons. You know what I mean? We allow our internal personal issues to get in the way. You know what I mean? We have to agree on a few basic things of what we want to happen, and if that's done, we will be a powerful grouping to contest with. You know what I mean? The internal fights, we have to decide. Listen to me. Whatever happens, we will be at I'm going to say to APNU, whatever happens, whatever is said, I'm meeting you at the finish line. You don't matter, don't care, don't let anything distract you. Because the PP will use the Freddie Kissoons and the fancy letter writers, you know what I mean, to come and sow division, sow mistrust between the coalition, you know what I mean. They'll get two former disgruntled AFC members to write a few things. They get two former disgruntled APNU to write a few things bad about us. And if we're weak, we will fall for that. Right? But if we have a discussion, we have a thing, and we agree, listen to me, this is it. This is what I would not do. Alliance for Change would never ever do this. The APNU would never ever do this. WPA would never ever do this. So nothing those distractors say would get in the way, because we already established our do's and don'ts. And we be and smooth sailing from there on, after having such a agreement and having such policy decisions. Our only focus after that is agreed is defeat of the PPP. Only focus.
Well said.
Of course, we have to work over the diaspora as well. Because at times, and this is true, you can see it. At times, people think that they have a monopoly on the diaspora. So if I, David Patterson, as a leader FC, comes to the diaspora and I say to Mark Benchop, which I know he's listening, and I know I'm just through forward, I said, Mark, organize a town hall meeting for me. People object because they say, oh no, Mark is not supposed to be working along with me or Rickford or Washington or all those people not supposed to be working on the FC. No. It's the message and an encouragement that we're sending. We're sending a joint. So we have to stop being territorial as well. Long as it's all in the purpose of removing the PPP come 2025.
That is so well said, Mr. Patterson. It's not a single party affair. It's a coalition, and within that coalition, there are three main parties, and all three of those parties needs to be supported. I could not have agreed with you on that more. That being said, Mr. Patterson, I wanted to touch quickly on Guyana Power and Light. We are. But, yes, I know you have to run. Yes,
I have to run, and I want to tell your viewers here. One of the reasons why I'm guaranteed I could stay on this program is that I'm in my vehicle, powered by my vehicle battery. So therefore, obviously, GPL can't affect me. I've been on the interviews and pop. It's good. Yeah. So I have about like 5 minutes, and if you allow me to explain a bit about GPL and the PPP, I greatly appreciate that.
Well, I would have actually asked you for your closing remarks and asked you to come back for us to talk on GPL if you want to do that.
Right. So I gave you, but I want people to know this, and then I give my closing remark. The problems with GPL, just like I was speaking about Linden and so, are all made by the PPP. There's nothing that they can say, and the mistakes they have, the coalition had it working. It was, nothing is perfect in Guyana, but it was working. We had no blockouts, we had no issues at all, enough reserve. However, every single thing that they do is married with corruption and kickbacks. And if they can't, and that's what's happening. So if they can't get a corrupt deal, if they can't make a money out of the deal and so forth, everybody suffers. So they came back into office for 4 years, did nothing. Then the country started getting blackouts. Then they suddenly went and bought 17 generator sets in a country called Honduras. Never ever. So they create these emergencies so that they can profit on them individuals. They let the entire system run down. Then of course they're going to hire a power ship out to Cuba. We have to recognize that the PPP are nothing other than common choke and rob thieves dressed up in a suit. They're common thieves, right? And I have no hesitation in saying that. They create. Look at the roads. Look at the flooding in Linden. The flooding on the road to Lethem. They do piss poor work. And then when the whole system break up, they go and spend emergency works as though they're helping out to solve the problem and give it to their friends and family. That is exactly. And I'll come back another day and go through piece by piece what we did. But the message your viewers have to know is that they're just common thieves. Sometimes, there's a saying, you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. Exactly what they are. They're just simply common thieves with no idea. You think about it, how many roads they've done. They're doing by a road called Thomas Land. I saw this in the table. This is Thomas Land, where by YMCA and by the National Park. They've done it 3 times already. They're on the 4th attempt. Come on. That's so ridiculous. But of course, every single time somebody gets a kickback and gets richer. So we're dealing with people that have no ideas. They're common thieves. They put on a shirt and a tie. They come, they dance on stage and those things like that. But that's what they are. Just common thieves. Sorry if I got a bit thing, and I hope I don't get you in your viewership in the problems. But I feel very strongly. I feel very strongly about what what they are, and the perception that people have that they are nothing other than common thieves. You name it. The first month they came in, they brought a chicken from one of the farm places, and the man came here in a private jet and got $22 million of without telling anybody for Sputnik vaccines. You can remember that's 2020, they didn't even been in 3 months. And then when we check, we were paying double the world price for Sputnik vaccines. Why are we, meaning there's WHO, there's American, why are we good? Why did they go all the way to somewhere in the Middle East to go and get Sputnik vaccine from Europe, from a sheik? You think about that, I mean, they're just common thieves. I mean, they sold the entire sports grounds on Carifest Avenue. Nobody knew about that the grounds were even up for sale. You know, these people are just simply thieves. Right? A pig with lipstick is still a pig. And that's exactly what they are. Thieves in jackets and ties are still thieves. So sorry about that, Anthony.
Well said, Mr. Patterson. In order for Guyana to grow, the PPPC must go. Mr. Patterson, I'm going to ask you for one more minute of your time to just give a quick pitch to the people why they should vote AFC and leave them with a few words of encouragement, sir. Over to you.
Right. So we are a critical juncture of our country. We've been blessed with oil. We've been blessed with so many things. This country really and truly needs the space to breathe and move forward. When the Alliance for Change, as I said, I mean, we are there, a liberal democracy. We will be the umbrella for all the free thinkers, all the want to come into politics without the restraint of joining one of the old structured parties, and that's what we want to be there. We are part and parcel of the struggle to remove the PPP. You mean, persons have asked me, I've gone on shows and asked us if we will collate with the PPP. And I've told them, no, we would not do that, because why would you go in bed with the devil? Why do you go to church every day and pray for salvation, and then the first opportunity you go to bed the devil? So what I want persons to do is to start paying attention to the news, these programs, start being attuned, start asking questions of your leaders, the politicians, and the difficult questions like you would ask, Caesar. Start getting engaged, start being informed, because a battle for the soul and the livelihood of our country will be done next year. Where what we want is the money to be shared, equitable distribution of our resources to everyone. Can't happen on a PP. They've had 4 years. I mean, the teachers are on 50-day strike. They can't get the 50-day strike. Where in the English speaking or wherever do you have teachers, the molders of our nation, on strike for 50 days and refuse to speak to them? You just think about that. You can Google it and find out, so where has teachers been on strike for so long without meaningful engagement with the government? So those are the bridges that we would like to be there to cross and to ensure we are there so persons can hear us and speak and support us in making this country a better place.
Well said, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. I will be back on, particularly for GPL, and then I would like to talk about some roads. I like to talk about infrastructure in a whole, what it is, but and I'll come back another time, sir, if you have me.
Agreed, Mr. Patterson. Don't be a stranger. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. All right, there you go, guys. We had the Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. David Patterson of the AFC. Let's keep in mind that we're going to be going into the 2025 elections as a coalition. That means the Commonwealth Accord has to be re-signed. Okay, so it will be Mr. Patterson, Mr. Norton, and I'm thinking from the WPA perspective, it will be Dr. David Hines and his team. So while I believe in coalitions, again, I've preached this over and over again. I believe in coalitions. It gives everybody an opportunity to have a seat at the table. And I feel like if everyone should have a seat at the table and everyone should be able to benefit from the oil patrimony, it must be equal distribution of wealth across Guyana, and people should be treated fairly. We saw what would have happened to our brother Kidaki this week, and we know that Guyana is not, at the present moment, operating as a functional democracy, but merely as a dictatorship where you have an installed government that is seeking to oppress and silence people, seeking to silence and take control of the press like they are doing with NCN, oppressing and denying certain registrations, ads, because those registrations is not supporting what they are doing. They're being very biased. 107.1 FM does not get any ads from the PPPC. So it is forced to, run independent of any ads or anything from government. So it just shows you what the PPPC is made up of. And I say this to the Guyanese people. The PNC, what the PPPC is made up of. I say this to the Guyanese people. The PNC is the largest party within the coalition. That's an option. That's a voting option. You have the WPA. That's a voting option. If none of the two of those work for you, let the AFC work for you. The PPPC is not an option. Those other small parties is not an option, the ones that are aligning themselves with the PPPC. Because why do we think that they are going to change their posture? The soup is already dropping in their mouths. They're not going to move their mouths. They're going to stay right there. I remember you had people like Mr. Timothy Jonas going on and getting on the coalition. I don't see these people today. I don't see these people responding to the things that the PPPC is doing to the Guyanese people. You don't hear from CARICOM. You don't hear from those external forces that was up in the Ashman building. You don't hear about them. Nobody stepped up and said that, what happened to Brother Kidaki should have never happened. Under the coalition, did anybody stop PPPC operatives from speaking out? The life of President Granger was threatened more than once, more than twice. Was anybody locked up or punished? No. There was no list up at the airport for any PPPC operatives that come into Guyana. They must be detained and all these type of things. And then you sit there as an install regime and you want the people to respect you when you perform such acts. Come on, the Guyanese people should vote 100% this government out of power. Every Guyanese should vote this install PPPC out of power. You have to remember, it doesn't matter what you do. You have to share markets. You have to share hospital beds. You have to share the country with your brothers and sisters. And what you like for yourself, you should like for others. So if you're one that your mouth is getting that soup dropped into, you shouldn't feel all nice and happy. Look across the street at your neighbor. Okay? Look across the street at your neighbor that is not a PPP supporter. Remember, everybody have a right to choose. Everyone has a right to choose. You shouldn't have to choose a government in order to get something from that government. In the United States and Canada and these countries, the UK, you don't have to choose a government in order to get something. So I think it's a long stretch, and I think it is unfair to call Guyana a democracy. I think it's totally unfair to call Guyana a democracy. And there are many external countries that has a lot of vested interest in Guyana that should know better. Because when you go to their lands, you see stuff like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. To the extent that you have vested interest in Guyana, should you not be making sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is also instilled in Guyana? When you don't see these things, how can you fairly come out and say that Guyana is a representation democracy? Not a chance. When you have an installed government that know that they don't have the necessary experts in place to deal with power and light, and you have the likes of the member of parliament who was just on this program, the Honorable David Patterson, sitting there, and you don't engage him. You don't ask him to come on board and take the lead. Provide him with the resources and let him take the lead and fix the issue. Understand that this is not about you, PPPC. This is about the Guyanese people. You guys are not just there to occupy seats in parliament. You are there to execute on behalf of the Guyanese people. That is what people are not understanding. I think I would have seen a survey of some nature that was posted. I think Mr. Benchcop would have posted it. That is asking for Guyanese to sign off on it. The Guyanese people that are Afro-Guyanese, that are of Afro-Guyanese ethnicity, needs to be addressed as Afro-Guyanese by the Guyana Police Force or any other agency. Yes, the word Negroes was used back in the days and is still being used in Guyana now. Being called a Negro these days does not leave the taste that Afro-Guyanese are looking for in their mouths anymore. If it is that the people wants to be addressed as Afro-Guyanese, then do so. Do so. Because Indo-Guyanese are not addressed based on what they were called back in those days. They are addressed as Guyanese of East Indian descent. I am asking that you guys have some common measure of respect when it comes to Afro-Guyanese. I am asking you nicely. I will ask nicely first. I should not have to ask again. I hope not. To the Starbrook News and that cartoon that you guys would have depicted with a young black man with a weapon and saying that that is the future of Guyana. Violence by young Afro-Guyanese men. We want an apology forthwith. There should be an apology forthwith. I close the program tonight by saying that there is a preponderance of evidence. There is grounds for our brother, Kidaki Amsterdam, to sue the state of Guyana. And I would expect that he would do so. My brother, we stand with you. We will always stand with you. It was a tremendous sacrifice that you would have made this week, standing up for your people. And this is not the first time that we would have seen this. Mark Benchcop would have spent 5 years in solitary confinement. So we have seen a lot before. We have seen a lot, and the trend continues. As the PPPC was attempting to go down that same line with Brother Kedaki Amsterdam. But the fiery resistance that they would have received would have altered their plans. Guyanese, continue to be strong. Continue to stand resolute. We must hold each other hands as we walk this walk. And I assure you, we will be the victors in the end. To all the listeners and viewers here tonight, I hope the show was edifying. I love you all. I want you guys to go ahead and try your best to sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good night, everyone.